Hey everyone, this is Alexander the Ritter. I'm a co-founder at SmythOS.com. And in this video, I want to show you what's brand new in GPT. And get ready because it is a lot. And I also have early access as a developer, so I want to show you the details. So first of all, you'll see that the interface is simplified. So no longer you have to switch between 50 models. The plugin store is not here either. So it's just these two options. Now, with GPT-4 Turbo coming out, which is more capable, up to date till March of this year, and more capable in general, you're not really going to want to use GPT 3.5. OpenAI said that GPT-4 Turbo will also get faster in the coming weeks. They have prioritized for price optimization initially, and they will optimize for speed in the coming weeks. But GPT-4 Turbo, as the name implies, will definitely get faster and faster. So there is not really a good reason to use GPT 3.5 in the interface here. Now, if you are an API user, however, and build as a developer are using these models, there is a good reason to use GPT 3.5 because it's a lot more affordable. Okay. Now, also what's new is that this GPT-4 will automatically switch between using DALL-E, take images, and so forth. It will automatically switch. You no longer have to switch between the different models. It can do web browsing. It can do image generation. It can do image detection. It can do language. And it can also use advanced data analytics, all from a single model. So you're going to want to use this new interface. It is beautiful, it is simple, and so forth. Now, on the left side, you'll notice that we still have our chat history on the left side, but look at this here. There's something new. On the top here, we see ChatGPT. And yes, indeed, this is what we are looking at. However, there is something additional here called Explore. Now, if I click on Explore, I can now browse different made by OpenAI assistants. They call them make your own GPT. Now, the good old data analysis and ChatGPT Classic and so forth is here. However, why would you use these individual models if you already have the one that already incorporates these three? Then you get to the models or the GPTs that are otherwise not there. Game Time, Negotiator, Creative Writing Coach, Laundry Buddy, and so forth. Now, in my experience and like trying out these things, I do not see a really good reason why you would use any of these. I'll be honest with you. I do not see a good reason why you would use any of these demo ones. However, creating your own is just what you will love doing. And I'll show you how it works. You can create your own GPT by clicking here and instantly get a lot of value out of this. We're going to do that right now. Here you go. I'm now in creating my own GPT. Now, you have all seen the demo on OpenAI Developer Day. You have seen how it works. You can configure your own. You can set your image. You can name your GPT, add a description and instructions. Now, one of the things that I use all the time with Claude AI until now is I make what's called an Alexander GPT, like my own name GPT. And the way I do that is I transcribe my meetings and I transcribe the podcasts that I appear on. And I compile a database, a large text file, and I maintain this in my Google Drive, where I maintain everything that I've said on these topics and marketing and so forth. What you can do here is you can upload that file in here. And so what that allows you to do is now have a conversation with your document. This is like chat with PDF, but for your own knowledge. It's very handy. So here's something I immediately see happen. I'm going to exit out of this. We're going to come back to this. Now imagine that you have a marketing leader, a CEO, and a finance person, and you upload their typical behavior or conversation history. Now, what you can do is you have those people available in your sidebar. Here, you can pin them. You can add them to your sidebar. You can interact with them. And so what you can do now is have conversations with that straight from here. So I can just click on this. I can instantly talk to this assistant that I have created. Now, this will be a productivity changer for me because no longer I have to go back to my reference documents every single time, copy paste them into Claude, and then start talking. Now, what is allowing this to happen is the larger context window of the latest GPT. The newest GPTs are able to handle up to 128,000 tokens of context window. That is 28% larger than what Claude can do right now. And it is probably roughly 3 times as large, no, roughly 4 times as large as the previous best and largest context window for GPT. So this is massive. You can use very large context windows, and more than likely, they are also combining a form of vector search and database within that. So basically combining larger models with retrieval augmented generation to give you a wonderful experience. And so I see this revolutionizing your work. Your work setup should have your writer, your editor, your publisher, your legal review, your marketing brainstormer. You can create your own personas. And so this is where we go into this part. I really think that this is a killer application for people who maybe are used to using things like character AI and creating their own fiction characters to have a fun chat with. Yeah, sure. Now you can have a chat with Elon Musk. You go to Explore, you create your GPT, and you say, Elon GPT, and you say, you can talk to Elon Musk, right? And you can upload a picture of Elon Musk and say, what does it do? It answers like Elon Musk would, or it tweets like Elon Musk would, or whatever. You can even upload a history of his tweets or somebody else that you admire, and it can generate new content in the same style. Or how about you upload the times when he gave keynotes, or Steve Jobs GPT or whatnot. So very handy, and very soon you're going to see that rolled out, and then you can use all these agents here in your sidebar, ready to go, productive at every moment. But it gets more exciting because between now and the end of the year, they're going to roll out team access. This is the step between pro and enterprise. And right now, if you use GPT, they might train their model on your data. In order to stop that, you have to go to settings, and then you have to go to data controls, and then you have to turn this off. But then also your chat history is off. So here's the thing. If you want, as a business, to make sure that your employees are not putting sensitive data from customers in the chat, not leaking data, that you would have to somehow confirm that they do not use this software with their own membership. And if they do, that they have this chat history off, in which case they can't go and check their history. That's not handy. So very soon you'll be able to have team access where all your team members will have the right content policy, the right safety measures, so to speak. And then something magical will happen, because remember all these assistants that live in the sidebar? Imagine that your department creates these automations and then shares them for the entire team to be accessible. You can create a new process and then make your whole team benefit from it. That is a game changer. Do you understand? This is when we see the reality of AI agents working together alongside humans. This is when this becomes reality. The future of work has arrived. Now, I want to show you a few cool things about this. So if I go to Explore, turn this off, and I create my GPT, I go to Configure, I go all the way to the bottom. There is an option. Give me one moment. Here, I click Edit, Configure. Okay, there is an option if you fully configure a plugin that you have something called additional settings. And in here, you can now have the option as a creator of a GPT, or let's just call them AI agent. As a creator of an AI agent, you have the option to turn off OpenAI training on any of your customer data. That is huge. That means that you can make sure that whatever the customer talks to your brand in this particular agent, the privacy between their customer and you is respected. And that is very important. I bet you didn't know that one yet. So next up, how do you create more advanced agents? Because we talked about how it is cool, and you can say, hey, you're an SEO assistant that can do all of that. You can add some examples. You can see here, we'll make some suggestions. That's all cool. You can add some document. Maybe you'd upload Google's helpful content tips or something. But is that enough? Maybe you need competitive research. Maybe you need to have reference documents on example. Maybe you need to do some real-time scraping. Maybe your agent needs to be able to go and publish it to a CMS or read from a CMS. Okay, this is where actions come in. You click on actions here, and now you have the opportunity to go ahead and add your APIs. You can go ahead and say API 1, API 2, API 3. Now it supports post, get, and put. Okay, and then you can add your parameters, and you can add more than one function as well. Now, there is an easier way to go about it. You can also click on Import OpenAPI Schema. And so for everyone who's already built plugins in OpenAI, this is where your schema will go. Now, you've already created it. You just paste your plugin here and hit enter, and it will import it for you. You can also do it manually. You can also here see the schema sample code, and you can manually update it. You link your privacy policy, and you have it right there. Now, why would you use this here? This here is the magic that allows everything to work. I want to go back to the user interface, cancel here. This is where the magic of functionality happens, because on its own, it can only do role playing with some knowledge file. But here is where it actually gains the functionality. Now, you can't build it inside of here. You need to host your own AI API. And so you need to build your API. You need to build authentication into it. You need to map out the functionality, all of that. Now, if you do, you can do incredible things. You can hook into your CMS. You can hook into Twitter API. You can hook into anything you can imagine. But you need to build it. And if you do, remember, you save this agent, and then you can distribute that agent and make it available to your team. So imagine the future of work with me for a moment, where you can basically create these APIs or automations, then put them inside GPTs, and then make those GPTs available to your whole team. It changes the game. So in my podcast, I have been talking about how we can envision a 3-person company doing a $1 trillion valuation, because one small team can now just create their processes all day long and then have their agents trained on very complex multi-step workflows. However, this interface has some limitations, because you can only add one API schema in here, OpenAPI schema at a time. And so the functionality here is limited to the endpoints in that schema. How do we get around that? We'll talk about that solution in a moment. I will just, in this interface, tell you a last few things. If you look at save, you have the option to save for yourself, to people with a link, or to the public. Now notice what it says over the public. It says it will appear in the GPT store coming soon. Now I want to ask you a question. If you are a SaaS business, can you afford not to be in the GPT store? If you are a brand and people, e-commerce, for example, can you afford not to be there where people are going to shop? In the keynote, Sam Altman pointed out that ChatGPT now has 100 million weekly active users, not monthly, weekly active users. That is an enormous amount of people. So you will have to be ready to get your brand ready and get it ready for that store. If you have developer access, you can start building your GPT today and start experimenting on how people might interact with your brand. In a simple case, you might upload some data about your company and say, these are the kind of questions that we can answer and give these examples over here. And that may be enough for you as a simple MVP to get started. But you will lack a few important things. You will not have the logs of your chat conversations, for example. You will not be capturing users' emails. You will not be able to send a follow-up email to a client or add the customer lead into your HubSpot lead list, for example. If you want to do those things, you'll have to add custom actions and build your APIs and connect everything. More about that in a second. However, there is even more, because recently Google Bard has announced an extension store. Now, the extension store from Google only includes Google properties at this time. But I have to ask the question, after this announcement from OpenAI, how long can Google really afford to wait to launch their own extension store and go after OpenAI before they take the entire market? They will have no choice but to follow quickly. And what do you do then as a SaaS? What do you do then as a business, as a brand, as e-commerce? You will also want to be in Google. And so the way that you will do that is by creating the similar interface and then adding the API that you host, that you provide, also adding it to other stores. And in fact, it is not just OpenAI or Google, but Microsoft has announced support for these kind of extensions as well with Windows Copilot and Windows 11. And in Alexa, we have skills. Siri, Apple has announced they're spending $1 billion a year to catch up. They're not going to fall behind too far. They are taking this serious. And then Meta has announced the AI Avatar Studio, which is essentially the same concept you see here. Integrating agents that work on all the Meta platforms, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and even Meta Quest. And they will bring that interactive customer experience everywhere consumers are. So as the website diminishes, these AI assistant marketplaces, we call them omnichannel organic channels, right? Omnichannel organic, meaning organic customer visits and engagement no longer come from Google search and your website alone, but people are organically going to engage with your brand on all these channels. So this here is what we're talking about. If you want to do that, you can start out with OpenAI very soon. Their store will be out there, but make no mistake, as a company, you have to get ready now. You have to start getting ready. And we already have, I've already put out this year in, I think, May. It feels like a year ago. I've already put out the first SEO ranking factors for search agents and how that will work with search agents. So we have a lot of time that we have spent with this. In fact, SEO.app was the 40th plugin in the original plugin store in spring of this year. So we have gotten months of experience with the plugin store and where all of this is going. Now, I have to say, I don't feel like the plugin execution was launched properly, but I feel like OpenAI this time, they have really nailed it by making these personal GPTs part of your sidebar and always there, by integrating it in Teams accounts. It is absolutely going to be the game changer, because you are going to look for a new functionality. And instead of building it yourself, you're going to go straight to the store and pull that in, and you're gonna have your mind blown on what is possible. Because not only you can create these functions for your internal use, your personal use, or your team's use, but you'll also be able to pull them in a store that everybody in the world can have access to. And yes, you heard that right. They will enable revenue sharing for creators of such agents, which creates a wonderful economic opportunity for a creator economy around creating AI assistants. Now you may wonder, how do I begin creating my agent that's a little bit more advanced than a prompt and a file? You do that with actions. You have to make your own API, but where do you get started? I'm happy to let you know that I'm finally allowed to talk about this and show it to you. We've been working for 6 months to this moment. Are you ready? Okay. The platform is SmythOS. And with SmythOS, I can make my SEO agent, for example. And I can create my SEO agent like this. I can create an API endpoint just like this. And I can define my endpoints in here. I can, for example, say keyword lookup. And now I have an endpoint for that. I can add my parameters, keyword. I can do another function, another endpoint that does, for example, something else. For example, write an article. And I can add something here, topic. What I just did in this platform is I created an API with 2 endpoints. Those are the same endpoints that will end up being functions over here and automatically imported from the OpenAI schema, which Smith automatically generates. And what can you do now? If you wanted to do keyword research, you can now connect. You can call your API database. You can take the keyword from the body and you can connect it as an input and say keyword. So I can connect my output directly here, and I can do an API call over here to one particular service. All right. But then after I have that service, maybe I want to do some post-processing. Maybe I want to do an LLM prompt that for sure takes the response, puts it in here, and instead of summarizing, I will say sort to input text. Now I can use any AI model here from the dropdown. And yes, we'll support GPT-4 Turbo as well. So you choose the right model for the right problem. And now you can do cool things as well. Like I can now go to Hugging Face and I can import a Hugging Face model. Any of the hundreds of AI models from here, from Hugging Face, can be imported. I can simply add the Hugging Face model name here and add it, or I can simply click plus and I can add a new AI model here, and I can use this to transform my outputs. You can do anything in the world because you have access to all APIs in the world. Did you like the Zapier plugin demo? Well, guess what? You can only add the Zapier plugin one time. But what if you want to combine it with your functionality? We have full integration into Zapier as well, and indeed full agent reusability. So I could connect all these things together. This is one endpoint. Now I can create another functionality, and I can do, maybe I can do a chain of prompts. First, I write it, then I edit it, then I publish it via an API. Maybe I want to hook it up to different data sources, and I hook it up to a simple data lookup. I connect it to my input, and now my input has full vector database retrieval augmented generation. I can create different data sources, and our components even support multimodal actions. So imagine generating video with Runway ML, audio with 11 Labs, and then merging it in a third-party service, and then still calling it yet another API to go and publish it on your social media. And all of that in a single endpoint. Now from here, my work is pretty much done. From here, I go to my agent and I can just copy the test domain name and I import it here in my schema and I can start creating my agents. So SmythOS is something we've been working on for 6 months. We're super excited about early access, which has started now that we can talk about it. And you will be able to not just create the cookie cutter plugins or chat GPTs that just use a description and some file. You will be able to have full hosting, everything done for you with a drag and drop environment where you can create your own agents and manually control every process in your business. The future has arrived, and the future looks like an entire army of AI agents across your entire company. I am super excited about what this is going to mean for you and your business. See you in the next video.